The Canadiens lose by a score of 4-0 in Carolina versus the Hurricanes. I think there's one really, really good thing that came out of this 4-0 loss to the Hurricanes. The coach says they did a much better job tonight than last game. Much better job at what exactly? Trying to figure it out. The two kids went to school today. Actually, it was the Hurricanes that took them to school, and one Montreal Canadiens player says he has a lot of respect for what he saw on the other side. We'll talk about it all and more. Your Canadiens talk. I bring in JP O'Connor on the Sick Podcast.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro, the sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Sports entertainment like no other. Brought to you by 8.6 Beer, intense by nature, and La Cage. If the last time you went to La Cage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you went back to La Cage. The menu will surprise you.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, and joining me tonight from TSN 690, Laval Rocket Color Man, JP O'Connor. What's going on?
How you doing tonight, Tony?
I'm doing extremely well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Tough loss for the Canadiens tonight, but I'm doing good.
Yeah, let's take a look at the lineup before we talk about the game. Let's go. Here it is right on the screen. If you're watching, and by the way, you can watch via Facebook, via Twitter, and via Instagram at The Sick Podcast, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's absolutely free. All right, so one lineup change for the Montreal Canadiens, and that is Tyler Pitlick, Black Eyes and all, was in, and Matthew Perreault was out. We'll take a look at the first line. Suzuki with Caulfield to his left, and Yoel Armia on his right. Dvorak in between Anderson on his right and Byron on his left. Evans in between Hoffman on his right and Rem Pitlick on his left. And Laurent Dauphin centered the fourth line with Pitlick on his right and Ylonen on his left. On defense, Romanov, Savard, Edmondson, Justin Barron, Corey Schooneman, and Chris Weidman. In goal, Jake Allen with Samuel Montembeault backing him up. All right, okay, where do we start? Let's start with this. What did Yoel Armia do exactly, JP O'Connor, to earn himself a promotion and go on the first line? Or is it more so a demotion for Josh Anderson, who hasn't done much as of late? Or is it more so the coach trying to find a little bit more balance in his lines?
I think that's it. I think you're looking more of a question of balance, Tony, and trying things out. We've heard St. Louis talk about this a lot, and you see it whether it's young guys getting opportunities on power plays or somebody like Armia this evening and moving up to a line where in all likelihood he doesn't necessarily deserve to be there. But we've seen what Yoel Armia can do in the past when he's going well, when he's playing with decent players, and maybe they're just trying to find something, find some kind of little spark there. And we remember last year with Armia, and I want to talk about this quickly if you don't mind. But
sure.
Was there a line out there tonight on the Carolina team that reminded you of the line that Armia played on last year in the playoffs?
You're talking about the line that he played on with Eric Stahl and Corey Perry.
You got it. And when I look at Stahl, oddly enough, his brother, and
yes.
you look at Niederreiter,
yeah.
and you look at Fast, boy,
yeah.
were those guys ever dominant down low tonight. It was something that we saw Yoel Armia do so well on that line last year, was control pucks, was lift sticks, was use that big frame of his. And I look at a guy like Marty St. Louis, and he says, listen, if I can get him up there, I'm going to give him a shot because he can create space. He can buy some time for these guys. And all those guys need is one look. But it's frustrating because he's just been so inconsistent throughout his career.
I'm glad you actually brought that up because if I'm Marty St. Louis, I'm going up to Kent Hughes. And if I'm identifying one player on that Carolina Hurricanes team that I'd love to acquire some way, somehow next season, it would be Jesper Fast because St. Louis has said that he wants to play fast. This way he could.
That's right. Yeah, I don't know what the
I thought it's no comedian, but
that's it. It looks like you might have had a slug of that beer in front of you there.
You're probably right about it. It's 8.6 beer, as a matter of fact. Intense like me by nature. The beer for those who follow their instinct and live their passions in order to make their mark. And also brought to you by La Cage. JP, if the last time you went to La Cage was when the Habs won the Cup, well, you got to go back, and you got to go back with me this time because I've been twice in the past week alone. at La Cage, once in the Carry and once in LaSalle, the menu will surprise you. I got to tell you, the triple A Angus 9-ounce, the chicken tenders, that dish where you have the chicken tenders, the potato skins, the chicken wings, and what else is it exactly? I'm trying to remember now. Anyway,
cheese sticks in there.
Yeah, you know what? I now I forget, but it's really good, by the way. Okay,
so
anyway,
I'm jumping in here. Let me tell you something real quick. I just came back from Saint-Hyacinthe tonight, where my boy played.
Okay,
and Jean Bedard, who is the chairman of Cage Sport, who's of La Cage, he has the Cage du Directeur in Saint-Hyacinthe, which is the real high end, really good looking one. And I would recommend it if you can get a chance to get up there, Tony. I'm telling you, it's as good a place as you got.
You know what? I believe it, man. I believe it because they've revamped, which is what the Montreal Canadiens want to do. All right. Did you have a problem with Matthew? Listen, I know it's not a big deal. We're not going to lose sleep over this, but what did Matthew Perreault do exactly to come out of the lineup for Tyler Pitlick with his 2 black eyes and all to go in?
So we just finished having a discussion about Armia and giving guys opportunities, and I think more than anything that it's about that. It's Perreault is going to give you what he gives you, and I think that when you have an opportunity to get a guy like Pitlick back in, then you're going to give it a try. There's nothing really to lose at this point, is there? But if you want to give guys auditions and slide them in there, so anytime Perreault is going to go in there, he's going to perform kind of as advertised with what he has left right now. So I don't think it's anything more than that.
All right. So early on in the hockey game, Laurent Dauphin in the defensive zone picks up a cross-checking penalty behind Jake Allen's net. It took the Carolina Hurricanes all but 5 seconds. When you're a really good team, you tend to have killer instinct, and they do. They go on the power play. Aho wins a face-off in the offensive zone versus Jake Evans. The puck goes back to D'Angelo, who finds Teravainen, whose shot is deflected by Aho. So, you know what? Sometimes goals come courtesy of the other team making mistakes, and Jake Evans loses the faceoff. The puck goes back to the point. No one can get to him. The pass goes over to Teravainen. No one can get to him. His shot is able to make its way through, and it's able to be deflected by Aho, who no one is able to pick up or get in his way. And it's 1-0 for Carolina. That's how they start the game. 4 minutes later, JP, I think in this hockey game, and there were probably more, but you correct me. I remember 3 scoring chances for the Canadiens, and they weren't all that great, by the way. Mm-hmm. I remember Jake Evans about 4 minutes after Carolina scored. He had a chance to tie it up. Yeah. He jumped on a loose puck. He took the defenseman to the outside. He got a shot on Freddie Anderson, who made the save. I think Yoel Armia had one in the slot in period number 3, and Josh Anderson hit a crossbar. But this Carolina team, they gave the Canadiens very, very little.
Well, there's 2 things that Carolina does real well, and obviously we know the first one is defend, right? We know that. That's just a foregone conclusion. But the other thing that they do so well is they love to run from the front. And the minute that they get that first goal, it is a real slog trying to get back into it. And it really is a reflection of Rod Brind'Amour and the way that he demands that team plays with that. With that structure. So I'm sure we'll get to Brind'Amour at some point, but those are the,
go ahead. I was watching Auntie Sham after the game, and our buddy PJ Stock actually brought up that point that the Carolina Hurricanes really are a reflection of their coach right now. And he added to that their dominance in the faceoff circle, where they're one of the best 5 teams in the National Hockey League. I don't quite remember where they are, but they're one of the best 5 teams.
Well, they're number 4, Tony. They're number 4 right now, and they're sitting at 53% as a team, which is pretty impressive.
And tonight they were 65% to the Canadiens 35%. And by the way, if there's one guy who really struggled in the circle tonight, it was Nick Suzuki, who I believe won only 5 of 18 draws or something like that.
That's right. You're bang on.
He was 28% in the faceoff circle. For Suzuki, who won 28% in the faceoff circle tonight, and him and Cole Caulfield were -2 apiece, even though they got a lot of minutes. Tonight was one of those nights where they went to school, right? They were learning tonight. They were learning.
Yeah, for sure. And it's going to happen. And it's going to happen. And it's not just going to happen this year. It's going to happen next year, too. And it might even happen the year after that, because there are a lot of solid squads that are out there. At Carolina, they're going to have a couple of things that they need to change. But for the most part, that group is going to be intact. So, there's plenty of teams out there who are playing some solid defense and who are going to be able to close these guys down. The key there, I think, is for, you see that kind of pushback that you saw this evening in Suzuki, right?
Yeah.
who looked to me like there was a certain amount of frustration in his game. He was playing on, but it brought out him
He
playing
found it hard tonight. He found
for
it hard.
sure. Of
Yeah.
course, he found it hard. But here's the kicker: is that he was playing on his toes tonight. He was engaged tonight, even though there was a frustration level, things weren't happening for him. A lot of occasions, especially with really skilled players, there might be a tendency to sit back a little bit in that instance. And you didn't see that from Suzuki tonight. And to me, that is a sign of progression.
Yeah, and playing on your toes is good. It worked out really well for Fred Flintstone when he would go bowling.
Old Twinkle Toes.
Twinkle Toes Flintstone.
That's it.
And also, he was on his toes when he was doing the Twitch. Remember that? There's a place I know where the hipsters go called Bedrock.
Love it.
Twitch.
I love it. We could go down a rabbit hole, me and you, on this one with stupid good looking and maybe even Goggles Paisano.
Goggles Paisano driving up the wall like people drive home on the freeway and stuff like that. Oh man, I was a big fan of the Flintstones. And we're gonna way out. All right, okay, let's get away from that, or else we're really gonna get carried away. JP, they say in hockey, if you're on the opposing side, you really don't want to give up a goal in the first period of play or in the last period of play. And obviously, if you're on the offensive side and you're scoring those goals, you want to score in the first minute or in the last minute. Carolina was already up 1-0. What a play here, but this shows really the determination of the Hurricanes, and in particular, the toughness of Svechnikov, because with about 22 seconds left at around the Canadiens' blue line, he gets laid out by David Savard.
Mm-hmm.
He gets up. Trocheck, by the way, does a great play. He separates Suzuki from the puck and gets it over to the other side, where I believe he finds Max Domi, who then finds Slavin, who throws it out in front of the net. Svechnikov and Savard are jostling. Savard is cross-checking him or trying to rough him up, but for whatever reason, he doesn't want to tie up his stick. Svechnikov just got his stick on the ice, redirects it in. There you go, 2-0. And I'm sure that when David Savard goes back and sees that replay, he's going to say, why didn't I tie up his stick? Right?
Sure. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. There's always going to be situations like that. You're not expecting that puck to come out of the corner there, are you? I don't think I would be.
I hear you, yeah.
And if I'm looking at it and I'm being critical of that play, then I'm also going to have a chat with Cole Caulfield on that play, who followed Edmondson into the corner. And if you look closely, when that puck does get squirted out from the corner and ends up, short-siding Jake Allen off of Svechnikov's stick, well, Caulfield's stick isn't on the ice, and that puck is allowed to squirt out. If he goes in there and he's in a strong defensive position and his stick is on the ice, then maybe that puck takes a tip and there isn't a situation there. So yes, David Savard has to tie up a stick, and yes, there's a certain degree of frustration there, but there's a few more things that happen, including, I think, a play that you could look at Caulfield as a teaching play, because he's not the guy that you're expecting to be down low all the time. That heavy lifting is going to be done by the Suzukis of the world or whoever it is that is taking that role on the ice. But you can definitely look at Caulfield there and point out that if you're going to go into a corner, even if you're not going to out muscle Slavin, well, get your stick on the ice and make sure that you're turning the puck over.
So they go to period number 2, and 2:45 into period number 2. I think Jake Allen makes just a great left pad save off of Derek Stepan. But later on, D'Angelo's shot from the point goes off of Savard. Aho picks up the loose puck. He puts it right to Teravainen. Schoenemann can't get positioning on him. He makes it 3-0. Later after that, there was something that happened that I thought was pretty incredible, which is a rule, by the way, but it's incredible. I think they got to revisit that rule. But Nick Suzuki's in the box. The Canadiens are killing a penalty. Jake Allen takes a puck off the mask. You can see that his strap comes loose, and the mask is obviously not very steady on him.
Yep.
And so he's a little bit uncomfortable with the mask that way, obviously. So, the puck scrambles here, there, and once it's a little bit out, he decides to take off the mask and just throw it on the ice so that the referee, who hadn't noticed that it was loose, could then notice that it's loose. So anyway, they blow it down, and Allen says, all right, thanks for blowing it down, stuff like that. The other official calls the penalty. Allen loses his mind. He goes up to him and says, what the hell are you guys doing? Marty St. Louis said that it's a rule that the goalie can't throw away his mask, but Allen was upset about it because it happened early on in the season that he threw away his mask like that, or threw down his mask. There was no penalty that was called. JP, that's a stupid rule, man.
Well, I mean, it's safety first and foremost, isn't it? And let's remember what those masks are designed to do. And those masks, when you take a direct shot, that there's no real flat spots on them. They're all angled, so that the pucks deflect off them. But whenever you do catch something maybe off the mask, then those straps are designed to pop loose. That's the shock absorption.
Yeah.
And so you do see goaltenders at times whenever their mask comes loose, they'll maybe give it a shake and it pops off. But if the referees aren't seeing it, then I think Allen is well within his right. I understand that there could be some gamesmanship in there, but you would like to think that more than anything that it becomes a safety issue and that a goaltender almost gets the benefit of the doubt on that one.
Yeah. Speaking of shake, you got to see me shake, rattle, and roll on my Matrix Home Fitness T75 treadmill with the 22-inch XUR console. Bring it home. Discover a club-quality workout in the comfort of your own home. Visit matrixhomefitness.ca. Works for me. I've gone from 4 chins to 2, maybe 2.5. All right, and Betway, for the love of the game, sign up and deposit on Betway for a 100% deposit bonus, the easiest sportsbook for Canadians. E-transfers are accepted. You want to bet? Well, how about the Montreal Canadiens giving up 40-plus shots? That's happened a lot lately. And how about Jake Allen making 40-plus saves? JP, Jake Allen tonight stopping 40 of 44. He made 40-plus saves. Now, has made 40-plus saves 7 times this season. The first Canadiens goalie to do so since Yaroslav Halak in over a decade. And it's 5 straight games with 40-plus saves for Jake Allen.
Incredible.
There was talk whether or not the Canadiens were going to trade him before the deadline. Obviously, they didn't. But there's 2 things that can happen here. Either A, they got to think about extending this guy next year because his contract is up at the end of next season. He'll only make $2.875 next season. Or B, if by chance they want to go in another direction, if they wanted to get his value up, man, his value is up.
Well, for sure.
He's playing really well.
He's playing great. And I'll go back to what I feel was his biggest game of the year, individual game of the year. And it ended up being a win. It was on the road in Pittsburgh, Tony, and it was right around U.S. Thanksgiving. And I think he saved 52 or he saved 53. And it was bedlam. I think, Sidney Crosby had just checked back in. He had been out for a little while. Yeah. And all of a sudden everything was starting to click, and Allen kept them in it, and he battled, and he gave the Canadiens exactly what the Canadiens had not been getting. And that was a timely save. Now, for a guy like Jake Allen to be able to do that consistently with a team in front of him that is, let's be honest here, it's an inferior team this year. There's no debating that, especially when you see them exploited by the 2 Florida teams and the team that was in Carolina this evening. I don't know. I get a chance to see Caden Primo a lot as the color commentator for the Laval Rocket for TSN 690. So I get a chance to see Primo a lot. I think Primo's game is getting better. I don't think Caden Primo next year, as good a kid he is and as well as he's liked, I don't think he's ready yet.
No, he's not ready.
And that's okay. And it's okay. But I think maybe if he gets the opportunity to go one more full season, then it's a different story. Maybe he's getting a little bit closer. I don't know if the Canadiens need to extend a guy like Allen right now, because I would think that, with the way that he's playing, he's probably going to be looking for more than 1 or 2 years. If you know what I mean? If he's stopping 40 on a regular basis,
well, it could be the final contract of his career at that point, right?
Course.
So he'd probably want to have 3 or 4, of course.
Exactly. So he might not settle for, he might settle for less money as long as he's getting the term that he wants. So I don't know if the Canadiens want to be on board with a guy like Jake Allen for 4 more years. I don't know what the appetite is for that. But I would certainly be willing to have the discussion with him next year at some point and see how that turns out.
By the way, I don't know if he wants to go into coaching at one point, but I will tell you this. If he wants to stay in the media, that guy's going to make for one hell of a color analyst one day, because I really appreciate the way he sees the game, the way he speaks the game, the way he describes the game. And I think he's got a real good knack for what's going on. We'll talk about him in just a second. I'll let you know that he was pulled with 4:42 left in the game. And later on, Svechnikov scores an empty net goal from just inside the red line. He shoots into an empty cage. The shots were 16-9 for Carolina in period number 1, 26-9 for Carolina in period number 2, 26-9. And they were 14-2, a turnaround for the Montreal Canadiens. 44-32 were the final shots on goal. All right. Canadiens lose by a score of 4-0. Here's Jake Allen after the game.
Yeah, it's this is one of the best teams in the league. They have a lot of respect for that group over there. Their top 6 forwards play balls out every single night. They play on both sides of the puck. They're on top of guys. They give you no time and space. They work for all their chances. Respect a lot of players like that, and that's the culture they have on that team. I think that's something that I think we're trying to build here. I think if we take a good look at that team over there, they play fast. They're on top of players. They're creative. I think that's what we're trying to do here, and it was a good test for the guys. It was. I know we didn't win, and that doesn't really mean everything right now. It's more just getting the experience, seeing what it really takes to get to that next level, and hopefully a lot of the guys learned a thing or two out there tonight, and bring it in the future.
JP, we talked about the young kids especially, but everyone going to school tonight against that good team. But I really loved his comments at the end of the game, because as I was watching the game tonight, and I'm sure you were thinking the same thing, that Marty St. Louis must have been looking over at Rob Brindamore and his team saying, that's what we want to build here. And that's what Jake Allen was talking about, right? That's a team that we have to look at. We want to play like them one day.
I agree. And had it been last year, Tony,
yeah,
then I think Jake Allen would have looked and would have said that Tampa Bay would have been a team, because they at the time that they had Weber and they had Price and they had those guys, they had those kind of older building blocks, those stable guys that you could count on.
Yeah.
I think that you can say definitively now that they're pivoting away from that kind of look, because those guys aren't there. So you have to find a different way to do it. And if it's going to be somebody like Carolina, I think it's a fair model to be looking at there.
All right. And now let's hear from Montreal Canadiens head coach Marty St. Louis.
You can't duplicate those reps in practice. Like, it's just like it's live, And I felt, we did a much better job defending than we did against Florida. Carolina is a team that just brings volume of shots from anywhere, So where I feel Florida sometimes is more selective with quality of shots, and Carolina brings a lot of chaos to their offensive game, where the puck is falling towards the net a lot. And I thought we handled that pretty good, considering the time that they had, and they're really strict in the sense that when we try to get out, we make a play up to the winger, their Ds are right on top of us, and that's hard to play against, and it's hard to duplicate those reps to feel that pressure from everywhere and how to handle that, So to get better at that, you have to live it, and there's no better place to live it than it's live, against a really good team. So I think our guys are going to get, be more prepared next time, and I think we can learn from that too on the other side and give credit to the other team. But I think it's all part of the growth of what we're trying to accomplish here.
All right. I love part of what he said, where he said we can't duplicate that in practice. And one of the reasons why you can't, Marty, is because in practice you won't have all that amount of talent that we saw on the ice. I mean, Aho, Teravainen, Svechnikov. I mean, those guys can play. I mean, let's be honest here. But for one of the first times since he's been hired as the coach of the Montreal Canadiens, I will respectfully disagree with Marty St. Louis when he says, I think we defended better tonight than we did against Florida. Carolina just has a chaos of shots, and those shoot from everywhere. And I know he's trying to bring a little bit of positivity to it. And he wants the fans to say, hey, you know what? It's going to be okay. But I'm going to disagree, because Carolina absolutely destroyed and obliterated the Montreal Canadiens for 2 periods. The Canadiens looked absolutely lost. Carolina made it a track beat. The Canadiens couldn't keep up. The Canadiens missed out on a ton of assignments. They lost all the faceoffs pretty much. And the only reason why I think this game was close is because Carolina decided in the third period to take the pedal off the metal and work on their penalty kill and say, you know what? We won the game. We're going to call it a night. Now, I don't want to disrespect the Canadiens by saying this. That's the way I saw it. Would you agree with me, or do you disagree here?
Well, I think that the key to the whole conversation is the acknowledgement that they look at it in two different ways. And I think that Florida can pull you out of position, and they can pass the puck around, and they can outskill you. They can out-talent you. Not that Carolina isn't talented, but Carolina is far more in your face. Let's just hit you.
Carolina can out-team you.
Yeah, but they'll bully you, and they'll barge their way around like a bull in a china shop. Not unlike Rob Brindamore, right? That's the way they do it.
Like me at the buffet.
That's it.
Get out of my way.
So you have an opportunity.
On the buffet table.
So you have a team who in Florida got caught flat-footed a lot because they didn't know how to defend against that skill. If I run out to that position, the puck is going to come back to where I was right now. I'm just going to stay here. And everybody was frozen. Nobody was really moving around. Whereas with Carolina, I think that there was more of a concerted effort to push back on it. It's just that when you get caught in your zone for the better part of 30 seconds and you physically start to break down, then all of a sudden the mental mistakes come. And then I'll come back to what I brought up earlier on in the conversation, is that fourth line can be a real bear. You know, the Niederreiter and Stahl line and their ability to control a puck down low and just eat away at time and start to sap your energy and then bully their way to the crease. I don't think that the Canadians have a lot of pushback right now for that. Yes, Edmondson is there. And yes, Romanov plays a hard game. I think Savard was a little bit overmatched tonight. And then you look at a guy like Barron, you look at guys like Weidman, and who am I missing? Corey Schooneman this evening. That kind of one-on-one battle is not always going to be won.
I thought Barron was a positive, by the way. 18 minutes and 40 seconds. He was even on the night. He had a couple of shots. He had a couple of hits. He had 3 block shots. I thought Justin Barron was good without being very good and without being great. I mean, the fact that he looked good versus a powerhouse in the league, that's pretty good.
Well, there's going to be the acknowledgement, I think, from Barron here. At some point, he's going to look over and he's going to say, I'm playing with Joel Edmondson right now, and he's bailing me out. He's making me look real good right now because I'm making a lot of mistakes. There's plenty of times this evening that, he's caught on the wrong side of the puck or he's too far. It's okay. Everybody recognizes that he's going to be making those mistakes, including the team, and they have to deal with them. That's part of being a young player. You're going to make those mistakes. And if St. Louis is comfortable in having him in that situation and have Edmondson ride shotgun with them, then so be it. The Canadians, I think, are more than happy to live with that and give him the opportunity to at least showcase what he's got and then decide where he's going to go.
All right. So the big positive, once again, of course, was Jake Allen, who stopped 40 of 44. He was absolutely very good. He was fantastic tonight. Let's be honest here. I mean, the fourth goal is an empty net goal, so he only gives up 3 goals on the night. But
a couple of real clutch point blank saves as well.
You know what? I got my big positive out of tonight. For me, there's one thing that's a big positive, right? And this is it. You ready?
Hit me.
The Canadians gave up 44 shots. They gave up 51 versus Toronto. They gave up 46 versus Florida. They now have a record of 10, 11, and 2 under Marty St. Louis. So in 23 games, they've won 10. They've lost 13. When the Canadians had lost their first 3, but then they went and won their next 5, and now all of a sudden they're 5-3. A lot of people they're going to accelerate this. This is going to go faster. You're going to see, and they're going to sign in the offseason. They may sign Patrice Bergeron. If they're not going to sign Patrice Bergeron, they're going to sign Christopher Letang. And if they're not going to sign Christopher Letang, today I heard that they're going to sign Claude Giroux. Can we please stop? I get it. Gallagher wasn't there. Petrie wasn't there. Carey Price wasn't there. I hate to break it to you. Carey Price, Gallagher, and Petrie are not going to get better going forward, okay? So let's not pretend like they're going to be 3 huge impact players coming back in the lineup. And Petrie, by the way, for sure will get traded in the offseason, and the Canadians will get a prospect in return. No one who's going to make the team better right away. So can we please stop with this whole sign Giroux in the offseason or sign Letang in the offseason or sign Bergeron in the offseason? No. Let nature take its course. Let this be the team that they are. Let them trade 1 or 2 more players, and organically, they will lose with regularity next season. They're going to fight. They're going to be competitive. They're going to have their good games, but at the end of the day, they're going to lose a lot more often than they're going to win, and they're going to have a chance at Connor Bedard or Michkov, 2 generational players. I would rather see one of those 2, and I know there's no guarantee you'll draft first or second, but if you can, I'd rather see one of those 2 for the next decade than to see Bergeron, Letang, or Giroux at 35. At 37, I used to wake up 3 times in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom.
So is the big win for you tonight the fact that there was a decent pushback, but there was a loss? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I thought that was a big win. And for me, the big win is I think people are going to start seeing clearer now. I want people to stop talking stupid. Like, let's start this guy. Is this a joke or what? Is this a joke? JP, tell me. It's a joke or what?
Well,
and you want to sign Letang and you want to sign Giroux in the offseason. Is it a joke?
Well, I think that's you're dreaming in Technicolor there if you think that's going to happen, Tony.
I didn't say that's going to happen. That's the talk. That's what people want them to do.
No, that's what I'm saying. When I say you, I just mean the big you, right? The big. I don't see the value in it, and let's remember too that there's a lot of dollars that are still yet to be allocated, and guys like Romanov is a restricted free agent. There's going to be money that has to be allocated to important players on this team. So, I'm with you on that one. Listen, Claude Giroux could play on my team any day he likes.
Yeah.
But not rebuilding. He can play in Florida. Absolutely, he can play in Florida for sure. And he's going to have a huge role on that team. Yeah. And I would never, ever bet against Bergeron. But I would rather see him play for the Bees than play in Montreal at the end of his career.
Yeah. And, listen, I get the whole thing with mentorship. Get a mentor who's going to cost you $2 million a year, who's not going to make you win a lot of games, instead of getting a mentor who's going to cost you $6, $7, $8 million a year, who is good enough to make you win games, but in the end is going to end up hurting you because you're going to end up missing the playoffs likely anyway, and you're going to end up drafting 12th or 13th. So I don't want that.
No, and let's not forget how important those players are. The fact that you just brought up mentorship is a huge component to a rebuilding team, because you can't just have the Brady Tchuks and the Josh Norrises and the Alex Formentons and the Stutzlas, and you can't just have that. You need those link players who are able to communicate with the young guys, who are able to connect them to the older guys. Those guys in the middle are so critically important, and they're going to be really important for the Canadians to identify. And if they need to go out and get goals, those are the guys that they need to go and get.
Kind of like what they had with Perry and Stahl a year ago.
Sure, except
they're not going to break the bank. That's what I want, right?
That's right. Exactly. Yep, for sure.
All right. And on that note, why don't we do this? We say goodnight. Thanks so much for doing this.
You got it, Tony. Anytime.
All right. Thanks so much. It's the Sick Podcast. Marinero. Tell all your friends about it. The guy that hosts has got curly hair. He's got bluish green eyes. He says, is this a joke? And the guy's pretty sick. At Marinero. Follow us, the Sick Podcast.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinero on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by 8.6, Intense by Nature, and La Cage. If the last time you went to La Cage was when the Habs won the cup, it's time you went back to La Cage. The menu will surprise you.